The Cowboys have lost 5 straight games since losing Tony Romo to injury in Week 2. Against the Eagles, Dallas hasn't lost 6 straight games in a single season since 1989. This will be DeMarco Murray's first game back in Dallas since signing with the Eagles this offseason. We welcome Mark Schlereth to the desk. Super Bowl champion Mark Schlereth. Nice ring there.
Well, you know it every now and again.
Yeah.
Every now and again.
Listen, why not? I would too.
This man knows offensive line, and he knows the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh,
Good
yes,
match
he does.
For this topic.
Yes.
We need a voice of reason here.
Okay.
We do.
How much have the Cowboys missed DeMarco this season?
Oh, they've missed him a ton. And you go back to Joseph Randle, and listen, I thought this was going to work out for them. Obviously, it hasn't worked out for them. But, you know, I said this back in April or whatever it was when DeMarco Murray left for more money to go to Philadelphia and said this is not a great fit in Philadelphia. He's just not. And people thought, are you crazy? 1,800 yards. He was the #1 back in the National Football League last year. What do you mean it's not a good fit? Just because you bring a downhill runner into your system and then you put him in a side-to-side system, that doesn't make you a downhill team. It just flat out doesn't. So he was a bad fit going there. I thought they'd be able to overcome that. But when you watch Joseph Randle, and I know they released him, but when you watched him, this is a guy that doesn't understand the beauty of a nasty 2-3 yard run. And DeMarco Murray is a downhill guy when you have a downhill offensive line and a downhill system that when you block it for 3, he's going to get you 6. When you block it for 6, he's going to pop one out for 15.
Yep.
And when you block it for 15, man, he's gone to the house. So they really desperately miss him because he is that cog. You know, all works together. That offensive line, that running game, the tight ends, the wide receivers, they all work in unison when you have the right system and the right players plugged into that system. You can take a great player, in its case in point in Philadelphia, and plug him into the wrong system, and he becomes a guy. And that's really what has happened there. So, yeah, did the Dallas Cowboys miss him? You're darn right they miss him. They miss the heck out of him because they don't have a guy that can do what he does. And, you know, and it's really hurt them here down the stretch without Romo, obviously.
You know, I tried to tell Skip this. He wouldn't accept.
Did you try to reason with him?
I tried and failed.
I tried to reason with him. I tried to tell him, well, Darren McFadden, you don't know about his health.
Well, I've known about it so far,
well,
right?
I'm just saying, you don't know about his health, how long it's going to last. This is before the season obviously began. Tried to tell him about Lance Dunbar and how, you know, the workload, if there was going to be one, you don't know what he could handle. And, of course, Joseph Randle, we don't know whether his availability is going to be. Depends on what department store you pass by.
Oh, yeah. Wait a second. He's gone.
My point is
gone.
I know he's gone.
Out. You can't do it anymore.
I know he's gone.
The statute of limitations has run out.
I just couldn't pass that up.
He's the dirt on his grave.
You can't do it.
It's over. Listen, man. Listen, I just have fun with it, okay? He's no thief. He just was in the bad spot. Had some stuff to cover up, okay? I just can't get over that. It's just the funniest story of the year for me. Anyway, drawers and a daggone sample cologne. Don't get me started. But here's the point. The point is those dudes are gone, and all you got to rely upon is McFadden, who hasn't been reliable. We know he can play, but reliability hasn't been his strength.
Right.
And then when you couple that with the fact that you can load the box because you can dare a Brandon Whedon or a Matt Cassel to throw the football, that puts you in a very, very difficult situation. One, I believe, DeMarco Murray more than proved he could handle behind that offensive line last season. You just don't disrupt something that appears to be working, particularly when you are in pursuit of a Super Bowl championship that has eluded you for the last 20 years. And you yourself have acknowledged that you're running out of time. Tony Romo has acknowledged on the team jet with you that you're running out of time, okay? So all of those things going on, and you decide to make that decision. I just think it's one of those situations where you messed up your own flow. The Dallas Cowboys did this to themselves. They did this to themselves, and that's why they suffered.
The beauty of what they did last year was give us an 8-man box, give us a 9-man box. We don't care. We can still. We're not going to force you. You will never force us to check out of that based upon your defensive formations. We will dictate the running game to you, not the other way around. And that's not the way the NFL is structured anymore, because everybody wants to throw the ball 70% of the time. So defenses can dictate when you're going to run it, when you're not going to run it. Not when Dallas last year. Dallas said, we'll run it when we want to, even if we have Dez one-on-one, because we're going to jam it down your gullets, because we've got this offensive line, we've got this running back, we've got the best blocking tight ends in football. So we have these things established. What you have to understand, and I don't think any of us did, you should know in Dallas, does the guy that you have to replace the guy, does he understand those principles? The problem with some running backs, and Joseph Randle falls into this, is you don't understand the beauty of a nasty 2-yard gain. You don't understand the beauty when you're dancing around trying to break one for 80 every time. That takes you out of the flow of your offense. It puts you behind the chains, and that's exactly what happened to them here. So these are two guys, and you know what? It goes both ways. It's DeMarco Murray not understanding what the Philadelphia offense is either.
Do I get to talk in this segment? Because I've heard a whole lot of you and a whole too much lot of you.
Okay, go ahead, Skip.
I haven't said one word.
We haven't said a lot from your Cowboys. What could you say to us that we haven't heard? Go ahead. The floor is yours. About the Cowboys? Let's go.
You are both dead wrong. If Tony Romo were still healthy and Lance Dunbar were still healthy, my Cowboys would be running away with the NFC East as we speak. So don't give me DeMarco this and DeMarco that. They would be missing him a whole lot more if he were running downhill through the National Football League for 150 yards a game, and he is not. And I remind you, the first time he faced Dallas's doomsday defense, he got a total of 2 yards on 13 tries.
We're talking about him for the Cowboys.
I get it. I have to put that in some perspective for you. Now let's look at the numbers, which you guys failed to look at. Right now, the Eagles are averaging 4.9 yards per rush. I don't know how, but without DeMarco, my Cowboys are averaging 4.5 yards a rush. That's pretty good. I think it's pretty great. You know why? Because they have by far the best offensive line in all of pro football. And it only gets a little better by each game because Lyle Collins, the rookie, is now at left guard and grades out right now as the best blocking left guard in football over the last 4 games. Thank you very much. Now, do you realize how much they miss Lance Dunbar, who tore up his knee at New Orleans? He was the Sproles of my offense. So surely, if he were
my offense, you got a mouse in your pocket?
Yeah. Hey, listen.
Are you calling plays?
Yeah, well, hey.
When it comes to Cowboys, he might.
I have no idea what that means. Lance Dunbar was a Sproles type. It had a Sproles type impact here. He had a 45-yard run against Atlanta. He had a 37-yard catch at Philadelphia. That's a little catch. It's mostly catch and run. 24 at the Giants. So, again, if you take him away, he's a difference maker in the run game.
Okay, so
all of a sudden, and Randall it craps out. He just bottoms out. He goes completely south, and he becomes more trouble than he's worth. And you told me 3 weeks ago, they're not going to miss a beat without Joseph Randle. Am I right? You thought Joseph Randle?
I thought going into this season they would miss out because of the offensive line and the structure of the way they run it.
I agree.
I thought they'd be okay without DeMarco Murray. They haven't found that replacement.
Wait a second. Back to the stats. Yeah. So my Cowboys have 895 yards rushing, and the Eagles have only 913.
Oh, you can't
That's not that much. Yes, I can. I just did it.
No,
because
you
it's
can't. I'm coming to your numbers.
Oh.
Here's why you can't do that. Because of everything you and everybody else conceded coming into the system about DeMarco Murray being in Philadelphia. They talked about the system. They talked about how different it was than the Cowboys, and they challenged the notion that he would be as effective in Philly as he was in Dallas. So the debate here about DeMarco Murray, Skip, is not about DeMarco Murray as a running back. It's about DeMarco Murray within the Cowboys lineup behind that offensive line. I'm going to ask you this question. And I know that injuries happen, and I know that there's a lot that's going on, and Tony Romo has had his share of injuries throughout the years, okay? Skip Bayless, last year, Tony Romo seemed pretty fine for everybody. You trying to tell me that had nothing to do with the 392 carries, the 449 touches overall that were given to DeMarco Murray? DeMarco Murray saved Tony Romo. He saved him.
No. Tony Romo had by far the best QBR in all of pro football.
That's not
I'm sorry. Yes, it is. That's relevant.
I'm talking about health. I'm saying that DeMarco Murray behind that offensive line, because you were able to give him the ball, that's one of the reasons why Jerry Jones did it.
Romo made DeMarco, not the other way around.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, my God. That's where I'm going.
You can take a line.
Let me use last night's game to your argument. Okay,
Mike Pettin be irrelevant to this argument. Go ahead.
Okay, Mike Pettin last night. Mike Pettin at halftime said, if we don't jump off sides, this game is tied 10-10. Wrong. If you don't jump off sides, that was 4th down. It's 10-7. And the bottom line is, you did jump off sides. You're talking about Tony Romo. Well, if Tony Romo wasn't hurting, Lance Dunbar wasn't hurting this. Okay, you know, if my aunt,
Mark,
blah, 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 she'd be my uncle.
No, you're smart enough to know. If Tony Romo is there, then you can't stack the box. You know, like what they're doing right now. They're just daring the quarterback to throw the foot. They're saying, we're going to take your run away.
Are you trying to say the Cowboys weren't, the opponents weren't stacking the box against the Cowboys last year?
They stacked
it last year. They did stack them last year. Yes, they did.
The box with
yes, they did.
Tony Romo.
Because of that offensive line. Hold on, Mark. Because of that offensive line that you brag about all the time, it was so potent, it was so powerful, they had to stack the line of scrimmage to try to neutralize the Marco Murray. That is absolutely true.
I can show you so many 8- and 9-man boxes last year. I could show you 100.
No.
8-man boxes. Of course I could.
Now I can show you 100 12-man boxes. Like they're putting extra people in the box because Brandon Weeden and Matt Cassel can't throw it, and they know it. So they just say, we're going to take it away. And I just read you the numbers. Even though they're taking away the run, still averaging 4.5 yards a carry. That's pretty great.
Which is why they stacked the line of scrimmage last year against the Cowboys. Because if you're going to stack them with McFadden running the football or Randall before he got cut running the football, what were you going to do with DeMarco Murray last year? You sat up there and picked the lesser of two evils, so you tried to key on DeMarco Murray, and you dared Tony Romo to beat you, and by and large, he did that. But don't say they didn't stack the line of scrimmage. They were stacked against DeMarco Murray. Tony Romo was saved last year because of DeMarco Murray. It is not the other way around. It is not the other way around. Oh, my goodness. He got helped by DeMarco Murray.
They worked together in unison. Tony Romo is a great
quarterback's game.
Tony Romo is a great player, regardless.
Yep.
He's a great player. He's a great quarterback. But you can't tell me that, you know what, that balance doesn't help a quarterback. You can't tell me that running the ball doesn't take pressure off a guy. Of course it does.
To a certain extent.
And they work in unison together.
Hey, the best fourth quarter QBR last year in pro football belonged to Tony Romo. When plays had to be made, it wasn't DeMarco making them. It was the quarterback making them. And the wideout making them.
Because why? Because people are hell-bent for election to stop. There's no more humiliating thing in the world than get shoved around and getting it run down your gullet as a football player. You know what? You give up a big pass over the top. You know what? Oh, we busted a coverage. Oh, they got us on that one, whatever. When you get consistently 6, 7, 8, 4, 3, 9, 12, 14 touchdown. That's humiliating to a defense.
This game revolves around touchdown passes. Big touchdown passes.
No, stop.
Skip. Last year, I understand your argument overall, but last year, how could you even deny that? It's embarrassing that you would deny how much
embarrassing?
Yes, how much
I'm embarrassed to have this discussion.
You should be embarrassed.
Tony Romo, what did I say all year? Wait a second. Wait a second. What did I tell you all year? Wait a second.
Tony Romo.
I'm not being a hypocrite here. I told you the last 4 weeks of the year. Who did I say was the MVP of the league?
Tony
Romo.
I know that. Hold on, time out.
Thank you. So I'm not doing 20/20 hindsight.
Since you want to do that,
yep.
Who said DeMarco Murray was the MVP?
You did.
That would
you
be
were wrong,
so
but it's okay.
No. You were too. So here's the deal.
I wasn't wrong. It's a quarterback's game.
You can say
want
whatever
a running
you want
back?
to.
Wait a second. What is this league devalued in the draft over the last 5 years?
That's not the point.
Yes, it is.
Don't change the argument.
We're
talking about the Cowboys from last year. It is no doubt that DeMarco Murray and his excellence behind that offensive line saved Tony Romo. And the second he was gone, he couldn't even last 2 weeks before he got knocked out for half the season. That's the bottom line, because you don't
got knocked out by a cheap shot by a rookie from the Philadelphia Eagles.
Whatever.
Are you kidding me?
I didn't find
the bottom line is this: complete teams win championships. Complete teams have success. And if you go control the line of scrimmage in this league, I don't care how good your quarterback is. Andrew Luck, case in point, when you spend all your money on periphery players and wide receivers, and you don't invest in an offensive line, and you don't invest in controlling line of scrimmage, you don't win. I don't care how good you are.
Jerry did.
He did that.
You cannot win without a quarterback. It's as simple as that.
That's true.
He handcuffed you with that, as you brought up with that November 22nd deadline, injured reserve with designation to return as well.
Good point, Molly.
We all good now?
You're on my side now.
Well, good.
We're fine.
We're down now?
All good.
I'm not
Tony
good.
Romo.
Oh, yes,
you're not good. You're not good.
You know what any team would take? Eagles, Cowboys, Todd Gurley. He is doing things this year that are really special. Only Adrian Peterson has done. So is it too early to compare them? They play each other this week. Well, sort of.